Norfolk-born author Chris Clark has released his new title. As I mentioned earlier on, the book follows the fascinating tale of his father, an RAF gunner serving in the Second World War. We also get an insight into his life here in Norfolk, and Chris joins me on the line now to tell us more. Chris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Stephen.
Well, I often hear from people who had relatives, fathers, brothers serving in the Second World War, that they seldom wanted to talk about it. How did you manage to get all this information from your father?
Basically, it started off with my father's personnel record, which I obtained after his death, and then I researched around the different squadrons that he served with.
Was it a feeling of you knew your father really well, but then you were rediscovering him all over again?
Basically, my father kept it a secret from his family and from the other Royal Air Force associations he attended after he retired.
Did you feel a sense of frustration when you realised that he'd kept all this under wraps?
Well, it made me very proud in realising in hindsight what he'd actually achieved.
It was a weird and terrible moment for a lot of people on the planet, and I remember hearing from my grandmother many years ago. She told me about day-to-day life back here in the motherland, and how tough things were. What stands out for you, though, from the accounts of your father's times as an RAF gunner? What are the big moments for you?
The big moments really was the first was a crash in the Sunderland flying boat in the Shetlands in August 1941, when 5 of the 12-man crew perished and Dad managed to survive.
Did that make him feel guilty? Because quite often that's the case, isn't it? If somebody survives a disaster, a crash, or something of an incident of this nature, they quite often walk away or come away with a feeling of guilt. How did it leave him?
He never actually spoke about this. Again, this is something I've obtained since he died. But 2 months afterwards, he joined an air sea rescue squadron at Bircham Newton.
And a lot of people saw some pretty terrible things. We hear about it even today with our service personnel, men and women, who have gone off to places such as Iraq and Afghanistan. The post-traumatic stress that they suffer. How do you think people who served during the Second World War dealt with it, and why don't we hear more about it today?
I think it was one of those subjects that was taboo, like in the First World War, when people were shell-shocked quite clearly, and they were basically dismissed.
Did you ever serve in the armed forces?
No, I was a police officer myself, but I actually have got post-traumatic stress disorder, so I can empathise with that time.
Dare I ask, would it be all right for me to ask what happened? Would you be able to...
It was a combination of work pressures that basically blew the lid off at the end, and it just transformed my life completely.
So you do feel that you are part of this when you're reading through the accounts of your father's life as an RAF gunner. You actually feel like you do understand exactly what he and others like him were going through.
Yes, I mean for the 5 years of the Second World War and subsequently in the Cold War, their life expectancy was very short-lived.
It is strange that when I started speaking to you, Chris, I did say that so few people actually talked about their time as if they were serving in the Second World War, and it just seems. I just wonder how much tension or pressure that put on family life back then.
Certainly, personally, Dad was quite volatile, and he did actually become an alcoholic, and at the time, obviously no one knew the reasons why, but it's only in hindsight we realised that was his way of dealing with it.
What do you think he would have made of the book?
I think he would have been very proud, particularly the foreword that Air Marshal Dick Garwood, formerly of Heacham, wrote for the book.
Thank you very much for coming on to the programme this afternoon, Chris. So what is the title of the book, and where do we find it?
the title of the book is From Hitler's U-Boats to Khrushchev's Spy Flights, and it's available on Pen and Sword Aviation website. It's also widely available on Amazon.
I appreciate you coming on the programme, Chris. Good luck with the book, and hopefully we'll speak again in the not-too-distant future.